Take a motion.
Motion to approve the agenda, made and second. Those
I
in
move to
favor?
accept the agenda as I got it presented.
Thanks, John. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Approval of the minutes from December 5th, 23.
I read them. Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion made and second to approve the minutes from December 5th. All those in favor, say aye.
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 Public comment, any public comment today? Hearing none. Receipt of information from supervisors not seated, and I guess we have one or two.
Mr. Chair, Brad Olson, County Clam Falls District 1 County Supervisor. Here today to just ask you to send forward resolution 224. Resolution in support of law enforcement to ban fentanyl test strip distribution. I do not believe that Polk County is the spot to be distributing fentanyl strips. We have large enough fentanyl or large enough illegal drug problem in our county as it is without increasing that. We know what the sheriff feels about it. I think we realize how bad all of this is, and this is a step down the wrong path as far as I'm concerned. I don't believe Polk County needs to be Seattle, Washington, Portland, Oregon, or worst of all, San Francisco, and that's all I see. Allowing fentanyl strips to be handed out is leading us down the wrong path. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Brian?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm Ryan Wood. I'm the County Supervisor for District 4. I'm also here to talk about Supervisor Olson's resolution asking for the ban on the distribution of fentanyl test strips. First, I would like to begin by saying that as a parent of young kids, it's important to me to say that my emphasis is always going to be to stop any kind of illegal drug use before it starts. Our household, we're committed to creating an environment where our kids are raised in a way where they know how the dangers and consequences of drug use. And as a result of that, we hope that they're going to avoid that kind of behavior altogether. So just making sure we know stopping it before it starts is important. However, that doesn't change the fact that other individuals will still choose to use illegal drugs at some point in their life. In addition to tireless efforts from individuals, families, and law enforcement to keep illegal drug use from happening in the first place, this is where what we've learned about as harm reduction strategies come into play to help save lives. It's important for us to consider the broad support that this harm reduction strategy has. The Badger State Sheriff's Association, our local assembly representative, Gabe Magnifici, along with other legislative sponsors of Wisconsin Senate 600, which decriminalizes fentanyl test strips. Most recently, our colleagues within the county staff that presented to us multiple times educating us about harm reduction strategies and how they're a comprehensive plan to address substance abuse. These groups have voiced support for using fentanyl test strips, not as a way to condone illegal drug use, but as a way of saving the lives of those who still make life-threatening decisions despite our best efforts. Supervisor Olson ultimately chose to frame the language of this resolution to imply that voting against it somehow means you don't support our law enforcement officers and their agency. I'd like to emphasize that in reality, a vote against this resolution does not mean you oppose our sheriff and his tireless efforts to keep our county safe, but stand in solidarity with a collaborative approach to tackling this complex issue. Rejecting the resolution aligns us with a broader evidence-based strategy that combines law enforcement's efforts with public health initiatives. We shouldn't overlook the potential public health benefits of fentanyl test strips. These tools can prevent overdoses and save lives, which should be a top priority in our response to the drug crisis. By focusing solely on enforcement and ignoring harm reduction, we're missing critical opportunities to help protect our community. I'm gonna go away from my notes for this part. When the resolution comes up for discussion, let's think about why are we even talking about this today? There's other harm reduction strategies like Narcan that functionally do the same thing. They allow somebody to make decisions to do illegal drugs without the fear of dying from overdose. But we don't have anybody that's pounding the table saying, let's get rid of Narcan today. That's partly because I hate to say it, but it doesn't have the political implications that the fentanyl test strip discussion does. So in closing, I ask you to recognize that a vote against this resolution is not a vote against law enforcement. It's instead a vote for a balanced, informed, and collaborative approach to a crisis that affects all corners of our community. And we should work together, combining the strengths of law enforcement and public health to make sure we have a safer, healthy future for Polk County. Thank you for your time and your consideration.
Are there any others? I don't see any others. Discussion with the Fair Society regarding grandstand and communication. Who do we have from the fair to represent this discussion?
You, Janice and Chad with you, we were waiting on another one. You want to push it down a little bit?
Push it down a little,
Thank you.
no problem. So we'll pass the Fair Society update and go to Administrator Norby for his update.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I got a couple things. The health department just finished their 5-year audit. And they completed that audit with the highest score possible, level 3 health department. The letter from the state acknowledges the health department staff and Tanya for their efforts in providing quality evidence of the meeting statutes and the rules set by the state. So I want to thank them. That's a 5-year credential there at level 3. Another one, county sales tax. The last report, county sales tax is up for 2023, about 4.2%, which is good news for our budget. Staff is also looking into Senate Bill 140, which was passed December 7th, which increases the cost share for safety projects on dams. So we might be able to get a little bit more funding from DNR on Clam Falls project. I'll steal a little bit of Josh's thunder when he talks, our new highway commissioner. Highway Now online on the website has a online reporting for road conditions. So if you want to report a pothole online, you can go to the county webpage on the highway page and put in your information, and the highway department will follow up with you on that. The last thing is, or two more things, the Justice Center roof. Want to thank Rod for that roof. We got our last pay statement in on that one. It came in at 2.465 million. We budgeted 2.6, so we're under budget on that. And thanks to Rod and his staff for that one. And then the BIL project, the bipartisan infrastructure legislation project, County Road B project from 35 to Atlas. That was to be constructed in 2024, which has now been moved to 2025 due to we cannot get the archaeology study completed in time to go out for bids. We've tried to fast track that, but that is not, will not meet the 2024 schedule. So it'll be pushed into 2025. And that's all I have for my report.
Any questions for Mr. Norby? Okay, Public Works update.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to start out by introducing Tony Novak. He is our new Parks and Trails Supervisor. So today's his first day. We had an ATV meeting previous and he's still sitting here, so that's a good sign. So the museum bell tower is completed. The doors are completed at the museum. So if you get a chance to look at any of that, they look fantastic on both upstairs and down. The schoolhouse siding and windows have started. The intensive use park FECon work has begun. So my staff and Tony's staff are up there with the skid steer and FECon doing the outer perimeter, so then we can get the fencing started. The recycling remodel, the submittals are coming in and being reviewed. Clam Falls Dam, we had the pre-bid meeting and currently we're out for bids. The government center remodel, we still have a few loose ends to finish up for the remodel and then we should be done with that. Mo and I had a meeting with the Friends of the Stour that we felt went very well. Kind of enlighten them on some different things on our end and we're able to work through a bunch of different things. with them in that meeting and seems like the communication is open quite a bit. We do have we currently got $100,000 grant. We're gonna be adding 4 new recycling sites. We're working on exactly where those sites are gonna be. One for sure will be Range, and then we're looking for 3 more areas yet. Tina Riley's working on that. So that's good news there. That's all I have.
Any questions for Rod? Moving on to an update from our new highway commissioner then.
Mr. Chairman, I don't have much to update you on today.
Yeah.
Glad to be back in Polk County. It's exciting. Got to meet with the crew this morning briefly before they headed out for their daily routine stuff. Yeah, we battled a sewer gas smell in the highway facility. I think we got that addressed. It's been pretty exciting. Got access to my email officially a few hours ago. So there's only like 147 unread ones to catch up on that I haven't seen yet. And I really don't have anything else at this time.
Okay, welcome aboard.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Any questions for the highway commissioner? Okay, we'll move on to Sheriff Walk then.
And I can defer and talk on item 15 if you would like, or I can do now.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I guess you can wait till, if that's the only report you have
Yeah, that's what I
related to
wanted to
that,
talk
then,
about.
yeah, we can wait till then. Okay, well then, Supervisor Rowdy, you're up next.
Okay, I can just follow up with Rod a little bit. We welcome Tony Novak to the crew and Parks. And what we mainly did in our meeting was introduce the fellows that are on the committee so that he would understand. And I expressed what a learning curve it is with everything he's got to do and deal with the park or the snowmobile council and all of the members. And I thought the meeting today went exceptionally well. We learned a little bit of what their issues are because they brought some things up for Rod and so that's about it.
All right. Questions?
None.
Okay. Update from CJCC.
They didn't have a meeting. Nothing to update on that I'm aware of.
I think Melissa, the coordinator, should be coming back from her leave shortly and we'll restart all of those meetings.
I think we'll have one on the 18th, is that correct? Or do you know?
Yes,
It is.
as long as everything, she comes back as planned, yes.
Okay, yeah, all right.
Okay, then moving
Mr.
on.
Chair, question for the sheriff, over the holidays, was, all the roads pretty safe? No fatalities or?
Nope, the fatalities, we got through it fine. The roads were slippery on Saturday. As everyone knows, we had that coat of ice, but we did not have any fatals. We had a few accidents, but nothing too serious.
Thanks for your good work.
Yeah, item 14, discussion possible action regarding the 2024 DNR emergency fire warden list. I see we have a list of 2. Need a motion to approve. Then I assume.
I'll make a motion to approve the fire wardens as presented.
Second.
Motion made and second to approve the emergency fire ward list as provided. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. You're still waiting, you guys? For somebody?
Why don't you let Sheriff go?
Okay. 15, discussion possible action regarding resolution 0224. Resolution to support law enforcement ban fentanyl test strips distribution. Maria, how do we do it? We just need a motion to bring it to the floor for discussion.
Right.
I move to bring it to the floor.
I'll second.
Hold.
My apologies, I just received a message from the coordinator. She is back from maternity leave and was on Zoom, but was not a panelist, so was not able to speak. Do you want to go back to that and see if we can make her a panelist?
Sure.
My apologies, she just meant. Is that an email that we have to send to her? Claire?
I just gave it. She should be on right now.
Okay. Melissa? Okay, sorry. Yes, sorry.
Oh, that's okay. I don't have a whole lot to update just because it's my first day back from leave. I was just gonna update on numbers, so treatment court right now, we have 12 and we have more referrals coming in. I believe by the end of January, we might be at 14. And our capacity is 17. First time offender for December, we did not have anybody in that program. IDIP, the Intoxicated Driver Intervention Program, was 1 participant. And substance diversion, we still have 2 participants that are doing well in the program. We are waiting to hear back on our TAD grant for 2024. So we'll receive our allotted amount of $174,000, but we are just waiting to see if we received any money through the competitive process for that. And our next CJCC meeting will be the exec committee meeting on Thursday, January 18th. So all of our CJCC meetings will resume this month.
Hey, any questions? All right, thank you very much. Back to 15, discussion possible action. Do we need a motion to bring it forward, Malia, or how do we, what's the process?
Yeah, motion to bring it to the floor.
Bring it to the floor.
Sure.
So looking, John made the motion initially.
I seconded it.
I second, so all those in favor, say aye.
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 Okay, the floor is open. Discussion.
So I guess I could start the discussion. And this is always a tough one because I think Ryan explained it quite well in that voting against this is not against law, it's the support for law enforcement. And I think the sheriff technically should know that by at least this committee, because we have dealt with it for, well, I guess.
Yeah, no, I agree.
But the other point that I have to make is that when you look on the health side of it and saving lives, my wife was an RN for 40 years. And we just had a discussion before I left to come to this committee. And we had one with the other resolution. But as on a nurse's side, she has to vote for this or not against this because of they're there to save lives. And she's not looking at that technically, this is where it gets me in trouble in trying to interpret. Technically, like the sheriff, she's got to look in the life-saving side, and that's her whole life. So, and this resolution just divides people. It's quite divisive, I think, in that you're putting one against the other. And it just doesn't seem like the county's position just should be this right now. I guess that's all I have to say.
Okay.
I have a question as to why we have 2 different.
I never got to read them from start to finish because we got this one handed to us late. Are they the same exact document?
No, they're not. There's, Mr. Chair,
All right.
there's some modifications in the,
So I would assume that the one that was handed to us after the fact is not the one we're dealing with right now.
The one you're dealing with right now is the one that was in the packet.
Right.
Um,
O2,
sponsor, Supervisor Olson had some edits that he is recommending at the county board to amend. And so that copy that was handed out would be that resolution with those suggested edits.
So this,
okay,
so this one, that, all right, the one that was presented with our packet is now going to be amended to this one at the county board.
I believe that that's what Supervisor Olson intends to.
This is your amended copy, the one that we received late.
Well, yeah, it will be at the county board. It will be amended to that.
Okay. Malia,
Yes?
If we act on this one, are we considering the amended version?
No, a committee doesn't have the authority to amend a resolution, so the options would be for Supervisor Olson to withdraw his resolution and resubmit it at a future committee meeting. But I think what he's chosen to do is to say, ask the committee to act on the one that was sent out in the packet. He is just here to let you know that these are the amendments he will be recommending be made at the county
That
board.
we'll consider at the county board.
Correct, right?
Okay,
So these amendments bypass our committee after this point then?
Right, a committee can't amend, but he's just giving you a heads up that that's,
Okay,
but so.
all right.
all right, well, that clears that up.
Yep.
Sheriff, you had your hand up.
Yeah, can I talk?
You bet, go ahead.
Claire, could you have that presentation? I just wanted to touch base and, you know, I respect everybody's comments and I think that's why we're all here is to have these conversations. And I see a different world than I think what the offices in this building see. I see that methamphetamine, there is absolutely no safe way to use that drug. The violence associated with it. And I've got a couple cases I just want to profile. First slide. Meth does present a grave risk to our society in the fact that, you know, in 2021, we had a case down in the southern part of Polk County where an individual had been shot on a meth deal. And nobody even reported this to the police. We started hearing about it from informants that, hey, so-and-so was shot during a meth deal. So we work this case in reverse. We find the victim. If you want to change slides. The victim had been shot twice. He had dug the bullet out of his body on his own. The car has a bullet hole right here. That is not harm reduction. That's what methamphetamine does in this community. The person who did that got a 12-year prison sentence, and I'm proud of the work our staff did because we had to work this case in reverse. Normally you have a shooting, the person's in the hospital. That didn't work that way. Next case. This was our homicide in 2022 in Osceola. A man was found beaten to death with a hammer in the shower in his Robo Village trailer house. They had been partying all night in a drug house and they're using methamphetamine. And again, when you use meth heavy, you get very strange. You get paranoid. And that's what happened. They decided to beat the owner of the home to death. Then they lit the trailer house on fire. And I was going to show you the picture of the victim, but it is so graphic. I think it would make everybody sick to their stomach. So I just have the next picture. That's what the inside of the trailer house looked like. That's what a drug house looks like. And I can't capture the smell of that. A slide doesn't even capture what that smells like. Again, heavy meth use. The person who did that got a 35-year prison sentence. So again, good success on the prosecution and the investigation solving that. That was a tough case to solve. Next case. Rural Clear Lake, we got an elderly guy splitting and stacking wood, something a lot of rural Americans do. When a meth using relative showed up and began to attack him, he started beating him with some of the firewood. The guy retreated to his house. The meth addict followed him in, got a knife and slashed his throat. And luckily he survived. He was able to grab the shotgun he had loaded on the porch and fire off a round. And he was able to survive that. Next slide is the victim whose neck was cut by that offender. And in this case, the guy was given a mental insanity deal and it was appropriate. The guy had extreme mental health issues coupled with drug use. So those are the kind of things that we see regularly. I could go on for hours with cases like this. We have constant cases in this county involving heavy meth use where you scratch your head. So to say that we want to enable people to test their meth so they can use it safely, that's where I have the issue with this. Testing marijuana, testing opioids, it's different. People that are using that drug heavily typically aren't out committing all this violence. I was told in 1997 by a West Central Drug Task Force guy, meth is coming to Wisconsin and it's going to be the biggest impact in your law enforcement career. And that's exactly what it's been. There's no case that can shock us when we see methamphetamine. Next slide. This was a drug house. We just did this last Friday in some of your communities here. And this involved children living in this home who reported it to government officials. And the 8-year-old's bedroom had traces of meth there's technology we use electronically to scan some of the rooms we go in, and we do this through the Drug Endangered Children. We work very well collaboratively with our health department here in Polk County. We work as a team to solve these cases. And I would be mortified if we were doing the search warrant and we found that the government handed out these people the ability to test their drugs to know they're safe, because there is no safe way. And again, the smell, I can't capture what that place smells like. It's terrible. Next slide. So the real world look at the drug problem in Polk County, meth use is never safe. The impact it has to our families and children in this community, it's taxing on everybody's agency. Finally, the violence associated with meth is nothing can surprise us. We have fatality motor vehicle crashes. We have home invasions. You know, we have people that just kick in a door because they're confused, they're high, they're paranoid. And that's what could happen to anybody. Law enforcement, we are not willing to just accept. That's what we've been told. We have to just accept that illegal drugs are in our communities. We're not willing to do that. We're gonna do everything we can to combat this problem. Next slide. This was the head-on crash that killed both people 2 years ago in Polk County up on Highway 48. One guy was going out at 4:30 in the morning to check his bear baits when the car driven by a meth addict who was high on meth took him on head-on on a desolate road, a place where you wouldn't even expect to meet a car, and both people were killed. Both drivers were killed. That can be me driving down the road. That can be your family. Next slide. Our work never stops. That's just some of the drugs we seize in this county. Our canines are out working every night. We work tirelessly at this. And our belief is that this system of handing out drug test kits to users is enabling people. Narcan is there, so it's not about saving lives. We already have that tool out there. This has taken it a step further, saying now we're holding your hand and encouraging you to go use drugs. And I think that's a dangerous message to send. And it keeps getting brought up that several law enforcement entities supported this. I'm part of the Badger Sheriffs, okay? But keep in mind, all 72 sheriffs are in Milwaukee and Madison, Dane County and Milwaukee County have loud voices in this organization. And I don't think you have to agree with everything an organization does. I'm willing to speak out against what the Badger Sheriffs did. I think it's wrong. I think it sends the wrong message. And if we didn't have such a meth problem in this county, maybe this works better in Milwaukee, because I've always been told meth kind of stops at Highway 29. It's kind of a northern Wisconsin problem. And I just see that the dysfunction involved in the methamphetamine community is astronomical. There's not a safe way to possibly use that drug. And I don't view this as a vote against me. This is not personal for me. I respect your ability to make your own decisions. That's what we all do. That's what we've been elected to do, is to make whatever decision you think is best for your community. And that's all I'm trying to do. Thank you.
Anybody else? Any of the committee members?
Follow.
Go ahead.
Besides the divisive part of all this, if you look at line 16 through 19, I think we're just way off base. And I would strike all those lines if I could do it here, and Malia just said I can't. So 16 through 19, otherwise we go over here on.
Wrong one.
I know, okay, we can go to 18 through 21. Is that the one?
18 through 21.
Yeah, administrator instructed to ensure no resources of Polk County, including without limitation, financial, salary, benefits. That's the one. I don't understand how you can even consider something like that against the health department.
I Googled, of course, studies about fentanyl strips. They've been working this since 2017. Some of the studies were, and some of them were newer. There wasn't really any conclusion in any study that I was able to review that showed an increase in drug use because of the fentanyl strip testing availability. So, I understand where the sheriff's coming from, and actually even talked to the former sheriff about it because I said, you know, what do you think of this? And he just said, there's two mindsets. There's the preventative mindset and then there's the law enforcement. And obviously by what he showed us, the sheriff showed us and what I've seen myself, there's no question that's a big problem in the county. However, if a young person is able to test something before they try it, let's just say my grandson says, you know, I had the surgery on the arm, but I'm still having a lot of pain when I'm playing basketball. And some kid says, well, here, this will fix the pain, try this. He has the ability to check it before he takes it. I think that would be fantastic. So those are my thoughts on it. And I encourage everybody before the county board meeting to just Google those test strips and you'll see several studies, a lot of information. I gotta hand it to the sheriff though, that, yeah, they're from big areas. Yeah, they're not from rural Polk County or probably many rural areas at all. So point well taken from the sheriff on that.
Mr. Chair.
Yep.
I did my exhaustive Google search as well on this, and I think we kind of align as far as I don't think this program in and of itself moves the needle one way or another. But kind of echoing what the sheriff said and what the author of this said is I've never seen one of these harm reduction programs do anything more than exacerbate existing problems. Whether it's needle exchanges, whether it's this, whether it's, you know, condom distribution, whatever. None of the, and you can always argue that, well, you can't capture what might have happened had these not been there, but they certainly have never improved anything that I can see. And it's an intangible to me, you know, about, you know, the slippery slope argument, and does this, is a perception that this encourages use. It certainly, I gotta say, even though I'm well aware of the negative impacts meth has, the idea that you've got a strip that you can test it to see that it's free of fentanyl does send a message to somebody that, okay, well, good, then we're just dealing with simple old meth, no problem there. And I really struggle with anything that facilitates the use of that. And I know meth is the bad one that we're talking about here, but even other drug, even marijuana, cannabis, or opioids or anything like that, I just struggle with any program that encourages it. So that's my 2 cents worth on it.
Okay, anybody else? Leah, do we just recommend to forward it, or
Yeah, you've got,
we got to vote on whether we
so you've
agree?
got you can put it forward with a recommendation, put it forward with no recommendation, or put it forward with a recommendation not to pass. So those are the 3 options. Can be neutral for it or against it, but you have to send it through.
So we have to vote for that, correct?
I make a motion that we forward this without recommendation.
I second it.
Motion made and forward without recommendation. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Aye. Just for giggles. So,
Well, you got one.
okay,
Mr. Chair, could you have a call vote on that?
oh, we just did it by motion.
Okay,
Didn't need one. Everybody said yeah.
yep.
Okay, fair people, are you all here?
We are.
Can we take a 5-minute break then? And then we'll come back.
It's up to you.
It is up to me and we will.
Okay. So that one, see more of, I think it's coming.
Fair board representatives, I'd rather have you come up to the table. Come on up and sit at the end up there for now. Welcome, we invited you here to start the communication process about the grandstand and other issues. Rod's got a little presentation on how we're gonna handle the maintenance from this point forward, if you wanna.
Yeah, Chad, I sent you see if you guys wanted to go on fresh service, so when you put in a work request, you can do it through the same system that everyone in here would put in.
When, sir, did you send that?
November
8th.
Interesting. You may want to resend that.
3:10 PM.
And you responded to me.
I did.
You did.
Perfect.
Yep, you responded on the 11th saying that you were gonna discuss it with your board.
That's right. That's right. I did not realize that that was a link.
It isn't the link.
Okay, it's just,
To get the conversation
Gotcha,
going.
gotcha.
So we're gonna show you what that would look like.
Yep.
Here.
Yeah, I asked Rod to show it to you so that you know what it was about.
Other screen.
Gotcha. Okay, so if you go into, I'll just go up here. If you go into report an issue, so if you come into the Polk County site, you go into our fresh service, you can go into report an issue. And then everything is a drop down from there. So you can go, it'd be facilities related. The requester, obviously whoever's requesting it on your end. The subject, you report what's wrong, flush valve or, power outage to a building, whatever it is. This is gonna be for all the, more of the minor things, flush valves, bad switch, bad outlet. Obviously, if you have, sewage ponding up, that just call. But we're hoping that through this, so you do your subject, the category is gonna be self-explanatory there on what it would be. The urgency, you can check the room number, so you can put the, whatever building it's for. If there is a room inside that building, that can all go there. In the description, you can type out as much or as little as you want there on what the issue is. And then workplace location would be, obviously fairgrounds. If you wanted to attach a file such as pictures or anything, you can do that as well. What we're hoping that this will do is that, so if you had a couple flush valves that were bad, I can send my guys down to replace them. And it'd be much cheaper than you guys or us trying to hire a plumber. If it's a light switch or an outlet, my guys can take care of that. And what I'm trying to, what I want to get across is that if it is a flush valve and we have nothing going on, if it's a flush valve in the spring and you have no events, it may not get taken care of that day because we have a whole list. So this would go into another list of all our work orders from all the buildings. But what it does also is it sends you an email back once you hit submit over here. After filling everything out, you hit submit, it gives you an email back stating that your work order successfully went through. So then there's a record of that. And then it comes on our list. So anything like that, instead of me sending a guy down for a specific, just one item, I try to wait for a couple to get down there. Unless, of course, it's the week before the fair and you have issues, we'd get somebody down there right away, or obviously during the fair, anything like that. So this is the system. I checked with IT. They're good with being able to get 2 or 3 of you on this system where you could put in work orders this way. And we're hoping that this would cut down on the cost overall of some of the maintenance.
Rod, clarify for them the payment methodology behind these. Okay, you go down and fix the switch, you're not gonna bill them.
Correct.
You go down and fix the flush valve, they're not gonna bill you. Okay, But if it's something unrelated to a building where you say water's running where it shouldn't, that is not. Rainwater is running where it shouldn't. That is not. A culvert is plugged. That is not.
Correct.
Yep. Just so you understand, this isn't for everything. This is for your general maintenance items, switches, flush valves, light quit working, electrical, electrical update now, however, that would not.
Right, so if you were, like, part of the CIP for this year is we have $10,000 set aside for upgrading LED lights in the fair buildings. So we would get bids or, I know we've taken your bids in the past to different contractors, so we'd get those bids. We'd look at how many lights we can get for that 10,000 or how many buildings we could get done for that. If there was more, if there was some above and beyond that, you can put a work order in to say, please get another quote for this building to upgrade the lights. And then it gets it on our, gets it on our horizon that we can look at that and try to figure out how we're gonna do that in the future. If we're doing another CIP for next year to do another building or two, or however that works.
Okay. And what date do you need that in your hands generally?
For the CIP request?
Yeah, let's just say, okay, now we're in 24. They want to do another roof, or they want to do an update of some sort that should be a CIP. When do they need to hand that in to you? So that it
Like
gets
that, probably for their case, right after the fair, so that we can get it on the docket and we can start looking into actual pricing. I know last year when we got the contractors out to look at the show barn roof, instead of replacing the whole roof, we can do the coating on it, like what was done at Cushing Fire Department. And it was about a $50,000 savings. So if we got it right after the fair, because of the fair, you found that you had some issues somewhere and we needed to do some upgrades, then that gives us time to get some of our, we have an HVAC company, the Ahern, that did the exhaust fans down there. So if it was HVAC related, we can get them down there to give us an estimate of what it would be to replace, other exhaust fans or whatever the case is. So that's how we try to look at that. So if we got it right after the fair, then that gives us time to get it on our CIP documentation for 25's budget.
Okay. So this question for you then, Mo. Do they need a 5-year CIP like any other department per se, or are we gonna handle it on an annual basis where they, after the fair, they discover they need something?
I believe Cedar did a 10-year CIP on there, but typically we want a 5-year just outlook to see what's on the horizon, what's coming out. So we'll need that 5-year. In the year 2, 3, 4, and 5 are always moving targets. Usually year 1 is the one that's pledged.
Yeah, just because they put a project in and then decide to move it out, put another one in, it's not a big deal. Except for after they give you the list after the fair. That's you're gonna be working on a budget then, so the next year's, you can just look ahead.
Yeah, so if down the line that you want to replace, a couple more roofs or that you're trying to add another restroom, we can look at that and try to say, okay, for 2027, we could try to get that in for whatever dollar amount. So we can plan that out.
You guys got any question then about Rod's end of it, the order form, the budget, CIP, any of that kind of stuff? Any questions at all?
I don't at this point.
Okay, great.
For tracking.
Thanks, Rod.
All right, so then for the future reference, as far as this, Chad, you can just email me back who you would like on there and the email addresses, and then I can get that to IT.
And there might be some bumps in it to start out with, but it should be pretty self-explanatory. Every other department is doing it.
Yeah, then talking to Janice and Carrie that, one of the ideas of this meeting was just to set some ground rules on meetings and discussions, the grandstand and that, not to go into the weeds at this point during this meeting of what the needs are, but right now we have them on the schedule quarterly to come to this committee to give updates on the Fair Society and what's going on. And I'll let them talk on this also, that but for the grandstand committee, we'd like a smaller group with that, maybe 2 committee members, myself, Rod, and the Fair Society to sit down at a smaller meeting and then discuss the size and the amenities for the grandstand so we can get going. And you can elaborate on that if you would like
You
to.
said it really good.
So I didn't know if you wanted to volunteer 2 committee members to sit on this subcommittee or ask for volunteers.
Does anybody would like to volunteer to sit on this subcommittee?
I thought you would.
I guess I can.
Well, I'm not volunteering you. But it's nice you
Well, you wouldn't
volunteered.
fire me, so. Anybody else?
I would sit on it with you if
Okay.
we require a couple,
All right.
because I think, there's other, their connection is good. I mean, that's an ideal way to make things very obvious. But verbal contact to Rod is gonna be necessary on some of these issues that do pop up. I'm sure that you'll have a voice contact, pick up a phone, talk to Rod, and elaborate a little more on what your request might be, or a little more input. It's gonna happen, I'm sure, but at least we're trying to maintain an open position, and hopefully that'll work well.
For clarification, this is for the grandstand only,
This,
right?
this
Yeah,
committee, I
yeah,
hope so,
yeah,
yeah.
Yeah, so,
Right.
The other issues will come forward quarterly to the committee.
Yes, and we talked about that. I think quarterly is fine to set it up, and if something pressing or something needs to be discussed other than that, or something we feel you should know about, then we would contact you and have it put on the agenda if we needed to speak other than at the times of just each quarter.
Excellent. Good.
Okay. Anybody got any other concerns then at this point? I guess that's as far as we need to go today. Time frame wise, now we want to give them time to put their wants together to meet with us again on just a negotiation type thing, or how? To me, it's better to develop it and find out what everybody wants and then negotiate, the finances and stuff after. Then we'll all know what it's gonna cost.
Right, so I'll reach out to you 3 on your schedules and stuff and set something up the next couple weeks here. And then, some of the things I had noted down, naturally location, size, the roof, lights, a sound system, possibly a bathroom, storage, cost, and ADA compliance. So as we go to those, we'll just fill in the boxes and stuff and see where it lands.
Having made the trip probably 85 times from the grandstand to the bathroom with a 4 or 6-year-old during the tractor pull or the demo derby. I'm gonna support bathrooms. And I'm not sure if there's any state statutes when you have that many people in a given spot, if you have to have them, or, it'll be something worth looking into, but.
I'll advocate for bathrooms too for everybody my age.
I don't want to mention that. Okay, anything else then from you guys, or? Okay, very good. Well, thanks for coming.
So, Mr. Chair, is in my understanding then that Jay and you, Steve, will be on this grandstand committee, volunteers?
Right.
Right, and Mo and Rod.
Yeah.
Yep.
Thank you for stepping up.
And it's their decision who they put in it.
Yep.
All right, thank you.
Thanks for having us. Thanks.
Moving on to review and update work plan, which I don't know if we need to do anything there. Identify subject matters for next meeting. I gave them all an email. We passed a resolution that gave the fire departments and EMS $10,000 of ARPA funds. And also set aside money for training for first responders. What we found is there's a real poor turnout for additional first responders. I know our department trained 4 and got paid for their training and their manuals, but other departments aren't coming forward with more trainees for first responders. So the EMS coordinator from Sheriff's Department contacted me and wondered about, what we could do for training should that not be used up. And her and I came up with, maybe we should need some mass casualty type training where we've never had, and nobody's ever had that. Or they had a shooting or multiple victims or something like that. We can maybe have a class that might train first responders if you need to call 20 in, to a school or a church or whatever it might be, but she looked into it on the administrative end. That's why I gave Mo the email. The ARPA funds were no longer available. I asked at the last meeting, are these ARPA funds available? Or are they gonna run out in 24? And the answer was no, they're available. So Mo's gonna straighten that part out, and then I'll come back to the county board and ask for some redirection with those funds if they're not gonna be used up for training. This is still, you guys read it, does it still stand that way, or?
Yeah.
Is there something there that scares you?
No, I have the resolution upstairs. I printed it off, but my understanding, those funds would be available till they're exhausted to that amount that was approved by the county board.
I'll give you the resolution when the meeting's over. I got it here, so.
What's the number on it, Steve?
1622. I guess you can look it up faster on the computer. I guess we shouldn't get into a big discussion about it now. It's not on the agenda. It's just.
We put that on the next agenda. Yep.
That only leaves one more thing, Jake.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second. Motion to adjourn made and seconded. Those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Mr. Chair, can you have Dr. Mo give me a call after the meeting at my home number?
We don't have no doctors on the board.
Well, with his experience, that's what I call him, the way I see him.
All right, John. Enjoy your weather.
Yeah.
Yeah, no kidding.